4, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from February's meeting? Were there any changes or additions to February's minutes?
Just one, which is to the part of the minutes that Joe couldn't hear for, I think, my being far away from the microphone. I believe that was the portion where we recommended to the woman who presented the case that she could, we were advised that there was constitutional questions involved in the requiring of drug testing in the case of any vehicular homicide, and recommended that the state legislature might be a more appropriate venue for those questions rather than the Citizens Review Board.
Did you get that? Do you want to put that, do you want to say that again, or do you want to send it to her?
I can send it in an email. That'd probably be easier.
A correction for the minutes? Okay.
Yeah. Of course.
Any other corrections or changes to the minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Stephanie Nix.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Matthew Lashley. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody have to abstain because they weren't at the February meeting? Greg abstains. Oh, gosh. Thank you. Tanya abstains. No, it's just I'm already in vacation mode. So. All right, so our next item is training and presentations, which we do not have any for this month. So we're going to move right into public agenda. Greg, can you see if anyone has signed up for public agenda? Two, okay. So for public agenda, each speaker shall be subject to a limitation, thank you, of 5 minutes for each presentation. And first on public agenda, we have Fred Wells, and you are allowed to speak to any items or issues that are not scheduled on the agenda. And it says 3 minutes on here, but it says 5 minutes here, so we're going to go with 5 minutes. So Fred, if you'd like to give 5 minutes of comment, you're welcome to.
And Faith, real quick, I will say Mr. Wells is in executive session as well. So I don't know if you want to hold off until executive session to speak on your case, or if you're here to talk about anything else outside of your case as well.
Just concerning my case.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll go ahead and reserve your comments for that.
We don't have to go into. Evidently, I got the whole room, so we don't have to go behind no back doors or anything.
Well, actually, we will have to when we go into executive session to review cases. So if you wanted to reserve comment for then, we can go ahead and have you stay with us.
I'm clear to speak right here.
Okay,
If you guys are okay with that.
that's up to you, sir.
Right here?
Yes, sir. And make sure you push the button so the light is green on your microphone. Okay.
So forgive me if I'm staring at you guys. I'm a little bit hard of hearing. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm hard of hearing, so I might stare at you guys. But so 5 minutes. Oh, good night alive. I was just given a letter here signed off by a Lieutenant Morcow, in response to an investigation by a Lieutenant Human from the West Patrol Police Department in concerns to anyway, so this letter here says the results of our finding is unsustained. There is lack of evidence and insufficient this and that and whatever else to prove an allegation true or false. And here's my problem with the whole thing. There was a mountain of evidence, a mountain of it. When when officers Barnthouse and Denton came onto my property after she was, the female involved was she was there, and then she was on 911. I was on 911 after she got on 911. I was thefted of $10,350. What I had in my right pocket here was 103 $100 bills and a $50 bill, and I was thefted of that of about 12:30 in the morning. These officers came to the house. It was sometime in December. I want to say it may have been November. And yes, she called 911 because I refused to let her leave. And, well, of course, she came over at 12:30 a.m. in the morning and sacked up 2 bags of laundry, which I knew for certain had my right pockets in it because I'm a OCD guy. I know how my pants are laid down and all that, but that was taken, that was put in that laundry, and I refused to let her put that in her truck. And so I had it on my property, in the grass, in the long grass. She had her truck and trailer parked on the wrong side of the street. She was drunk and high, marijuana, which is the reason why the officers refused to let her leave in her vehicle. They refused to let her do that. But here's the thing. Detective Barnhouse met with me. It was kind of cool that evening, kind of cold. Denton met with her. I took him, but prior to taking him inside my house so he could have his conversation with me, I told him, I said, please do not tell me that when we exit this here in a few minutes, that property is going to be gone. And he said, that property is not going anywhere. And I thought, great, okay, so we have a conversation. And in this conversation, I told him about the 2 hours, the 2 nights before, where she had just come out of the mental at Wesley Hospital or whatever, because of a similar incident with her mother, violent drinking and whatever. And I told these officers, excuse me, ladies, I told these officers, I said, you know, she came back after that incident 2 days later and came into my house, excuse me, and spread her legs, where she removed a Dylan sack from her vagina, and she said, I am so glad they did not discover this. And I thought, oh, you got to be kidding me. Then she proceeded to take what was in the bag and roll her nightly. She'd spent a week with me. We've been dating for 3 months. She spent a week with that 5 nights with me that week and proceeded to roll her nightly damn joint. And I told the officers this, so they had that evidence, and they already confirmed that we had this on the record, and we've already searched it. Anyway, so we exit my house 3 minutes later, 4 minutes later, and I go out onto my property, and I'm like, are you serious right now, Mr. Barnhouse? Are you serious right now? You just told me this property, these 2 bags of laundry, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, was not going to disappear. They were gone. They were gone. And he said, well, Mr. Wells, let me tell you something right now. This is personal property here, and it is now her personal property, and we're not allowed to search this and search that and whatever else.
Mr. Wells,
I'm missing
so your 5 minutes are up. Do you want to continue during executive session on your case?
What's that mean?
That means once we say that we're going to go review your case, you're welcome to come back in and finish your story if you'd like.
You mean 3 hours from now?
No. Can you tell me what the PSB number is on your envelope? And then I can tell you where you are, and we can make a motion to make it first if it's not.
Which PSP number was yours? 5552. So right now we're right here, and when we get to right here, then we'll invite you back up to finish speaking.
So what we'll do is, once we get to new business, I'll make a motion to move that up to the first case so that you can go first.
Could you just give me 2 more minutes and I'll end it?
Well, we do have someone else on public agenda.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to sit right there, when we go, because we don't have anything else going on tonight except for case review, then you could just come back up and finish your story if that's all right, sir.
Okay. You want me to go back and take a seat?
Yeah, just right there. That'll be fine. Next on the public comment is Vincent Hancock.
And in the interest of Mr. Well, okay, yeah, there it is. In the interest of Mr. Wells' time, I'm not even going to take the full 5 minutes. About an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes ago, I emailed each one of you some ideas that I'd had that are only from 2018 that I think bear some review. In the community in which I was raised, respect is not due to titles. We only recognize one king. Some have called the King of Kings. Respect is something that is earned by someone's words and someone's actions, not something that is bestowed based on a title or a position. In our Regulation 3 for the police department, we have a section called Professional Contact with Citizens. 3.301 talks about identifying themselves, and we've had multiple times in front of this board where we found out that that policy is simply not being enforced because it requires that an officer is required at all times to tell a citizen who requests it their first name, their last name, and their ID number. They're not doing that. Their supervisors are not doing that. It goes all the way up the top. I maintain, first of all, we should enforce it. Second of all, I think we should add one more thing, because it's very difficult to complain and then say, well, that's not one of my officers, I don't care. I think we should add which bureau or which command that they belong to. Now, sometimes you can tell via car numbers, but we learned on Wednesday, not even supervisors at the bureaus can tell which officer matches which car because of the new way that the CAD system keeps track of that. That shouldn't have to be on them, but there should be ways of keeping our officers accountable. So, and there's more written down that you can read on that. The other one that I think is a little bit more simple to understand is Regulation 3.302, which currently says each member of the department shall be courteous and considerate in treating all persons with dignity and respect. We all know that you give what you get. When you treat someone with respect, they will treat you with respect in most cases, and I'm sure our officers are subject to a lot of times where they do treat someone with respect and they are not treated with respect. And my heart goes out to them, but I also do believe that that is the way that they can most appropriately display their professionalism, is even in the face of disrespect, that they will say, I respect my position and I'm not going to lower myself to your activity level. So I maintain that we should add on to that paragraph, members of the department will not use, and we can probably even add, while on duty. What they do off duty is none of our business. While on duty, members of the department will not use degrading, profane, abusive, or defamatory language when in contact with the public or in public view. We can raise the standard, and our officers, 99% of them that I know, would have no problem with this whatsoever. And I think this is actually drawn from some other jurisdictions' wording, and I think it's a phenomenal way for our officers to earn the respect that most of them already do on a daily basis. Appreciate your time. Any questions? Thank you.
All right. And I'll probably have I do have a question about that. I like that wording. Jennifer, it says defamatory. That's a legal term, right? Okay, so we wouldn't include defamatory, or we would include if we were looking to provide recommendations.
There's nothing to prevent the board from making that recommendation if that's the term that it would like to use.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to get where we step on things that are outside the scope of this board. Thank you, Vince. I would like to move to new business and quickly, Stephanie, if you'd like to go through your proposed timeline, and yeah, that's a great document.
So I wanted to bring to the board's attention a potential proposal, and whether this is a first read or we want to take action on it tonight is fine. There are some copies in case anybody from the community would like to see the proposal that's been being put forward. At our last meeting, we went into executive session and we had a citizen come and give a story and a testimony. Prior to that, we're asking the Wichita police officers to present information to us concurrently with the citizens. And in last month's meeting, we found that what the citizen brought forward wasn't even what the police department had put together or prepared for. And so this proposal goes through and looks at or asks if the board would potentially consider inviting our citizens to come in, letting them tell their story, gives us a chance to think about it, make a list of what we might want to see, and then asks our officers who present to us to present it the following month, information that's relevant and pertinent to that case. My thought is that it'll just help us be clear on what we're looking for. I can't imagine at my job trying to identify what 12 people would want for a case that I don't even know what it's for or have a vague idea. And so last month just really confirmed that we may not be using our resource officers as efficiently as we could. And so I've put together a proposal, and I'm interested in any feedback. I've offered it to Cooley for recommendations.
I like it because last month isn't the only time that that's happened, where we had to drag out cases over a couple months because we had different questions. Even after we reviewed, we had questions sometimes. So I kind of like this. And we'll also give the captain more direction on what it is we exactly want to know, because sometimes I feel bad for him because he brings something, he's like, I'm not sure what you guys wanted.
And this doesn't change if there's no, like if we as the board pull the case, we can hear it. He can prepare ahead and we can hear it whatever month it's scheduled. If no citizen is present, we can go ahead and hear it. It's just when we have whatever they're going to come and discuss on the case, we can tailor what we're asking for based on what we think might be pertinent. That also, we can allow Cooley, if he finds something in the investigation that he believes we may want, to bring it forward, but it's not having him sift through however many hours of video footage and coming up with all the possible scenarios that we might ask.
Would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we adopt this, but I was also willing to have some conversation first.
Is there a second? No second? Okay. All right, there's a first and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would rather propose that the board takes a month to review this, or until next month, especially so that the members that might not be present can also see an emailed copy of this. Because this is my first time seeing this, and I want to be able to read it, make sure that everything's good, as well as I'm sure some other board members. From what I can see, it looks phenomenal, and I think it should be adopted, but that would just be my proposal.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with tonight being a first read, and next month we can vote on the item or take any feedback you guys can send to me and I can update it.
And then I would also just, if that's the way that we go, and if this motion fails, then I would just, you can send it to me and I can send it to the board via email, or you can email it out to us as well.
And I totally agree with Greg. I don't think I've seen this before, and it's very comprehensive. It would have at least somewhat of a significant impact on how we deal with these issues. I kind of get the reason for it. The only thing that I think I would like to maybe see if we could add to this is there was somehow we would get at least, even before we hear from the citizens, some summary of whether it's the complaint or whatever, because just like with our situation now, he only had 5 minutes here and he'll get some more time. But I'm only now starting to get some sense of what actually we're talking about. And so I think my concern is if we just hear from the citizen and we don't have any real clue as to the guts of the complaint, how are we going to have any opportunity to question those folks about things that concern us? And they're still going to have that, and there's no perfect way to do it. I mean, we could do the police first and then hear the citizen the following month, but there's downsides to that as well. It's just, I would hate to go out with just having the citizen come in cold. We know nothing about the case. We don't know when it occurred, how many officers were involved, how many officers are being complained against, and then we hear from the citizen, and then, we wait a month before we actually find out what the summary is. So that's one of the concerns I have. I agree with Greg. I mean, there's quite a bit here. A great job putting something together to get us to think about this, because I've said all along, this is one of my biggest problems with our case selection, is we don't, all we have is a couple of lines to make a selection. So then, once we make the selection, I want us to have as much information as possible and the right information. And it may actually be more efficient, I think.
So currently, when the citizens bring something forward, we're going in cold, like you said, like, we don't know anything about the case, other than like maybe the one sentence, if we can recall it from whatever the prior meeting is. That would be something we could add in here, maybe a form that they fill out. I don't know what that would look like or what the board might want.
I
Well,
think-
even, I don't know, can we get a copy of the complaint at that time? Because that obviously is what the citizens focused on. It may be one officer who said one thing, or it may be against three officers. And, again, from my world, you usually have a complaint beforehand. You have the opportunity to at least understand the basics of what the allegation is before you start hearing evidence. And maybe that's just my problem.
We discussed some of that, it would be.
Is your mic on?
So if we discuss some of that, it would be in executive session, which again would be, do you want it before they speak or after they speak? And is that all you want? And then next month you want follow-up? So I also don't have the perfect solution for you, so.
And I don't either. And again, just from my world, even the document that the citizen provided, the complaint, if you will.
And that depends on if the citizen did a over-the-phone
Right,
complaint, a written
Yeah.
complaint, or via the internet. So certainly, if he wrote out his complaint or did it online, you can save those, and they're welcome to bring it. We've had citizens bring that to us before, but that
Okay.
would mean we can only take it that way.
I guess what I would move is, I think the appropriate motion would be to request, would it move to table this motion? For at least
Actually,
1 month?
I might say defer. The table takes it out of your future agendas, defer to a certain date.
I think I would like us to vote on the motion, and then we can just do another one next month.
Okay, but I'm going to move to defer, so if there's a second for that, then.
Okay.
if
It
there's
is
not-
a move to defer, because that's why I was saying this would be a first read, but you wanted people to vote on it, so that's the route we took, rather than making this the first read.
Yeah, so this is a motion to approve it tonight, and you're asking a substitute motion to defer. Is there a second on the substitute motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Or is there any discussion on the motion to defer? All right, all in favor of
Well,
deferring
hold
to?
on, do we need to set a date for the deferral? So would we want to set it for next month's meeting at least?
That's fair for now, I think. yeah.
Okay. That's
So,
all.
yeah, I'll add to my motion that we defer it to next month.
All in favor of deferring this agenda item to the March meeting? All opposed?
To the April meeting.
Sorry, to the April meeting, yes, thank you. Okay, so this agenda item is deferred to the April meeting, which will
Thank you.
give everyone plenty of time to read it.
There were two people and I had a further question. I know it's out of the motion, but just off the top of my head, were you also, based off of this, from a quick glance, is this proposing that the citizen would, on the first month, make the request or come out and speak about their request if it is citizen initiated, and then that second month they would not come out, or they're expected to come out that second month as well?
I didn't have that in here at all. I was just thinking we would hear from them that first month and let them know that we conclude or follow up on the second month. I don't know, it's up to the board. You guys can give me feedback if you think you
Okay.
want them here or not.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that there's time on the agenda for us to discuss that at the April meeting.
Okay. And then I know Tanya and Josh had something to say also. I don't know if they still.
Sorry,
wanted
what
to.
was that?
I know Tanya and Josh had,
I'm fine.
okay.
Yep.
They had something, but.
I can provide my comments via, email and feedback form.
Okay, so secretary report, anything?
Faith, I think we skipped the policy review.
The policy review is not for this month because we have put all these cases on. We were only doing cases tonight.
Because,
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. You're correct. I was looking at the I was looking at February's agenda. Well, I would like to make a motion that we go into an executive session for 20 minutes. Or I would like to make a motion that we move the executive session for this one PSB, since the citizen is here, and then review the rest of the cases and the animal control after, so this gentleman doesn't have to stay all night.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. How many minutes do you think, sir? 20. And then I'm gonna, yeah, let's do 20, because that'll give you time to finish, and then time for Captain Cooley to review. All right, so executive session, item number 2 is being moved above new business, and I move that the Citizens Review Board recess into executive session for 20 minutes to receive information on 25 PSB 5552, for legal consultation with the city attorney, to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, and to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable information pursuant to KSA 754319B1. Executive session will begin at 5:30 and end at 5:50.
Actually,
5:31 and end at 5:51 PM. The meeting will resume in this room.
We need a vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we came out of our 20 minutes unable to complete our review, so we're going to go back into executive session. Executive session will begin, sorry, I move that the Citizen Review Board recess into executive session for 10 minutes or 15? 15 minutes to review information on PSB, 25 PSB 5552, pursuant to KSA 7543-19B1 to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel and protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individual. Is there a second on the motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Executive session will begin at 5:52 and end at, wait, 6:07? Yeah. The meeting will resume in this room. Okay. All right, we have returned from executive session. We went back and forth on what to say. We're going to have Mr. Kisner read you a statement about what we talked about.
We reviewed more details about your situation. Did you hear that? Okay? Okay. And we do appreciate your concern and your complaint. While your specific complaint was determined as not sustained, this matter has been addressed with the officers. We are going to continue to monitor these types of situations, and we will continue discussion and review of these kind of situations, because what we do is kind of an overall view of policies, procedures, and making recommendations as to things as far as training and as far as changing the way things are handled. But as Greg had told you earlier, ultimately it's up to the powers that be in the police department and the chief as to whether or not they follow our recommendations. Okay? All right. So thank you very much. We appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
If I can here, Madam Chair, I will also ask, I know they give you a brochure, but even as a member of the board, I forget definitions all the time of what the police department uses. Do you understand what not sustained means from the police department in their findings?
According to your stuff here, it says lack of sufficient evidence to prove that any type of allegation was either true or false.
Y'all gonna have to remind me, I done forgot within a matter of a moment.
That's what it says right here.
Okay.
That's right out of the brochure.
I just wanted to make sure you knew what not sustained meant from the get-go. Yes, sir.
Which was my entire complaint here is how can you say lack of evidence when it's all there? I mean, it's all there.
Okay. Oh, well, again, we appreciate it very much.
Mi-
I guess my ultimate, is it okay for people to be admitted into a police vehicle, not searched?
That is a
That's
separate
beyond our
complaint.
purview.
Yeah.
As far as, we can't answer that question for you here today. That's not a determination that this board gets to make.
And Mr. Wells, I would encourage you, if you have that specific complaint, to file that specific complaint. The nature of the complaint that we reviewed today was about your property and how that was handled. So if you have a complaint about that, whether or not someone should be searched, you're welcome to review policy, and you can follow up with our board, and we can send you where to get policies and make a different complaint.
Are you guys going to be responding to me? at any time in
Our
the future,
secretary,
or is
our
it-
secretary responds, so if you email the CRB, he'll be able to respond to you with the link of where the policies are.
If I email who?
The CRB board, it's in your brochure,
Right.
the CRB email. If you, one of us will reply to that.
I will also add that we will like to continue to look into this. So you can still email us. I do have to be limited in what I do and do not say, but we will continue to look into this as it's been mentioned in the statement given.
But nobody will respond to me unless I call you guys back, right? Or
You,
email you back.
you can email me. What do you mean? Captain Cooley,
Oh, Captain Cooley?
right over here.
Oh, okay. So I've already spoke with him. Okay.
So yes, absolutely reach out if you have any further questions. But as I've stated, we will continue to look into this. But at this time, that is the best statement that we can provide as we continue to look into this matter.
And no binding action has been taken.
What was that? What'd she say?
She said no binding action has been taken. Yeah. And again, it's not this board's purview to overrule the police department or the
Right.
chief or whatever. What we are trying to do is continually as part of what we do, is get a sense of the kinds of problems that might be out there, the concerns, whether they're legitimate or not, that citizens have about the way their cases are handled. And then over that process, we are able to then look at policies, procedures, and make recommendations of things that might need to be changed with the way the police department handles these type of situations, as well as other situations. And so that's why we appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
So my only question was, in 6 months from now, am I going to get something from you
Not
guys
likely.
that says, hey, we did this?
No,
Or
not
what?
likely, because I don't know that there will be any, we don't know, the board could always do something in the future. I don't anticipate any further action on your specific case from my perspective.
Mr. Wells, if you submitted other complaint and you wish to have us review that, that would be the only way we would interact with you further at this point, and if you ask us for help again. But we do have a really large agenda, and I wanted to make sure we gave you time. Unless you have any other further questions, we're going to move on to the rest of our agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Since we're out of executive session, we are going to review the animal control policy, which is policy numbers 530, 531, 532, and 553.
I will just say we skipped new business item 1, if that matters.
Yeah, you're right. Was there anyone wanting to add cases? I apologize.
I will mention, I don't know if it's warranting any cases to be added to the list. However, it is a little concerning to see just how many internal investigations we have on our list this time around, as well as how lengthy some of these complaints are. Now, I will add that some of these complaints have been unfounded or sustained. And before I move further, can you remind me what external investigation is versus a complaint? Captain Cooley, sorry.
So an external investigation is basically just what you heard, an outside party makes that, and it becomes an investigation. A complaint is someone makes a allegation, but it doesn't become an actual investigation. So through an inquiry, they're able to say it didn't happen, basically.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So all in all, I don't know if the board finds that as concerning as I do. It's just how lengthy some of these are, and then there are some that include not sustained, or that include that some action was having to be taken. So I don't know, and then that's a lot for also one officer, and we don't get provided how many officers are tied into multiple of these complaints. For example, if a complaint is 25 PSB 2465 on Officer A, but Officer A also has 25 PSB 4861, we don't have that information. I'm not requesting that information. I'm just saying this is a lot of complaints regarding the police department on singular officers or multiple officers that are quite lengthy, which I find concerning.
So Gregory, I'm interested, and we've talked before about how do we know if one officer is involved in
We don't.
multiple cases or not. But another interpretation of the data today is that Wichita Police Department is doing reviews of their own department, and that's why we're seeing more cases currently, or more citizens are bringing cases forward. And so I've been trying to figure out how I feel about that, because the packet is thicker this time than it typically is.
I mean, I would be happy, I'm glad there's more internal. That means that they're policing themselves. Honestly, that was one of the complaints for years about this board, is that all of them were brought forward by the board. All were external, not all, but seeing internal complaints means that more and more officers feel comfortable saying, hey, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that. And then I don't know that we get in the middle if I don't know, Tree says Captain Cooley did something and they investigate it and they're like, no, he didn't. I don't know that we need to look at those. So I'm kind of happy that there's more internal, but what I don't like to see is either the impression that officers are more rude, or officers are more rude, because it's weird how many. Yeah. Because it could just be the perception, because everybody's like, the world's on fire and everybody's not
Absolutely.
being great.
Absolutely. I more so was, if this continues, it would warrant maybe a different response. Like you said, Stephanie, this is the first month, and I missed last month, so I don't know what it looks like. This is the first month I've seen it, in a while that I've seen it this thick, and so if this persists, maybe now we need to look into a little bit of a different approach coming out of this board regarding that.
I am potentially interested in seeing 26 PSB 0390. It's not numbered, so it's the second to last page that has color on it.
0390.
6 from the bottom. Yeah, I think maybe I'm interested to see what is the policy regarding officers looking in personal property like that? Is it part of an investigation? I think maybe it's more policy piece. I'm interested in knowing. if
Yeah, I don't know that,
We just haven't seen anything like that come through before.
I am going to just go out on a limb, and this happened to my kid, where if any member of the public fiddles around with your mailbox, you literally have to call it in, because they're not supposed to do that. So I don't know, are the police exempted from that? Like, they said it was a federal issue, and we needed to call.
Yeah,
And make
you
a complaint.
Can't take somebody else's mail. And I just think that's why it catches my attention.
Right, I don't know. Jennifer, do you know? Because when we called about that for my kid, they were like, yeah, that's serious. We were like, is it serious? They're like, yeah, that's serious. So that was for a member of the public. I don't know if police have a special, like, as part of an investigation. But I agree, that is interesting.
Well, and the postal inspector, I mean, there has been nationwide a lot more mail theft from what I've, either I was a victim not too long ago, and talked to the postal inspector about that, and of course, they're having a bunch of issues too, but, and I also, the Wichita Police Department was somewhat involved in that as well. I ended up filing a complaint, because the jurisdiction was actually, the loss was clearly not in Wichita. But, and I did actually get a call and some follow-up from WPD on that. So, and I know they said the same thing. That these mailboxes, there's the ability to be able to get into some of these mailboxes and pull mail out. Seems to be something that a lot of folks
Yeah.
do well.
This is just a different category than we've seen
Yeah.
fall on the sheet before, and I think it's probably more, what is the policy around it? So maybe it's not even reviewing the case.
Can I ask, since we're dealing with executive session and cases, this is just such a heavy load. I would think that makes it difficult for Captain Cooley to pull video when there's so many cases to do. I don't know, am I correct?
Yeah, so I was actually going to address that with you, that this was over a week of my time just to prepare for these 7, which isn't sustainable, coming to work and trying to do a full-time job too for the police department. So it's got to be like a 2-case
I'd rather
max.
see that.
Like,
I'd rather see 2 cases fully looked at.
Yeah.
Than maybe we'll do that one, maybe we'll do that one. I don't think that seems like that works. Because I want the videos, and I know that takes you a lot of time, so that seems impossible.
Well, and I think if we need to, I don't know, this board could make a recommendation that someone else be, I mean, part of getting a staff member was to be able to help do those things, and then the staff member ended up becoming the clerk, which isn't what really that position was supposed to be. So if that is, I mean, you're command staff, so that's taking a bit of your time. We may need to petition the chief to like have somebody else put it together, or have PSB put it together. I don't want it to, it's such a load that we can't get it done. Like, that's not your fault.
yeah, and we've discussed that. The outcome and the downside of that is that I'm going to come present based on someone else's stuff. So when you ask me a question, expect those answers to be I don't know, I didn't actually review it, I'm just presenting on what they reviewed. So that may complicate the executive sessions a little bit because I don't actually have the knowledge of reviewing it.
I am going to, I think I'd like this board to discuss that more in depth and actually to discuss, since the strategic plan was approved, we haven't yet come to the point where we've put subcommittees together to fall into some farther things. So we may be at the point where we need to discuss at the next meeting. Sorry, no, that's okay.
So just so we can clarify, are there no cases coming forward then?
Well, I think we need to discuss at the next meeting whether or not we need to reinstate the subcommittees, because if we have too many cases to review at a time, then we need to have that subcommittee vetting cases that have been pulled forward strictly from the board, not complaints, to ensure that they need to go farther, because if we have not enough capacity through PD, not enough capacity on this board, then we may need to start going through those subcommittees again. I'd like to have that conversation in April if everybody's amenable to that. Because it was kind of working before.
Yeah, and I continue to really struggle with this because I don't know where the magic answer is. I know Faith kind of had this position, there's certain cases she wants us to, I'll review all of them, and that's certainly her purview. I don't agree with that, but I also don't have the magic answer as to how we, I've kind of come to the conclusion after almost 2 years on this board that I want to see videos because that gives me an independent view of how officers are dealing with situations where somebody's complained. And, the specifics of the complaint a lot of times aren't all that concerning to me in a general sense. I'm interested to see how officers are treating people, if they're following policy, and, as Tanya says, the videos are the best information that we're going to get, independent information, as opposed to statements from citizens who may have access to grind, and fair enough, and they may have very legitimate complaints, or from, put the Wichita Police Department in a situation where, they kind of give us what they have and what they think is important, but the independence of this board, I think, is really important, and viewing those videos is the best independent evidence and information that's going to be available to us, in my opinion.
Right, which is why I think we need to put some subcommittees together. One could be working on how we address that. So if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to table that discussion until April, so we can figure out maybe who wants to join some of these pieces and take some of that on. Because even though we made the strategic plan, we knew somebody's going to have to work on these pieces. It just doesn't happen. So I think that's a discussion for a further day. Are there cases that we want to bring forward besides the case Stephanie brought forward?
I think we've been doing seconds to see if anybody else is interested in that case.
And can you say that PSB number again?
26 PSB 0390.
Second.
That was a motion, yes.
And I seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Oh, sorry. Let's get a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. All right, now, policy 530, 31, 32, and 53. Did everybody get a chance to review those? Is there any discussion around those policies that you'd like to bring forward as a recommendation or questions for PD?
I wasn't here last month, so I'm just curious to know where this conversation stemmed from. Was it just something that was brought up? What was the basis behind wanting to review these policies?
I can answer that one. So we last month saw another PSB case in which someone alleged that their dog was wrongfully taken.
Right.
And I noted that that was the second such case that we'd seen in a couple of months. And so signaled to me that it was worth having this conversation about Wichita Animal Services. And so I had made the suggestion.
Any discussion?
I do think in reading through the policies, I think that there is, so I did note that these policies were, I believe, last updated in 2022, so a little bit on the older side compared to others that we've seen. I think that there is opportunity in policy 530 to put in some stronger guardrails for when an animal is identified as a service animal, as is the case that we heard last summer or fall, I
that's right,
forget.
yeah.
Where the service animal was adopted out by WAS/KHS, wherever that exchange happens. And some guardrails for service animals as well as for when people, as this person was, I don't remember if she was put into outpatient or if she was in prison, but again, I think that those folks should have the opportunity to reclaim their animals or their property, depending on how you look at it legally. I believe their property. Just some degree where they can either at the point of arrest or whether from the prison themselves to be able to get their animal put somewhere rather than have it go into WAS, KHS care, and then they say are released a few days later and their animal is gone into the oblivion. I don't know if that's a waiver form on WAS papers where it's like, hey, if we find out that this dog is in fact someone else's that we took incorrectly, we will need to take this dog back. I think but sorry, on this long-winded spiel, I was not able to, I requested from WAS any of their internal policies and procedures, to which I did not receive a response, and I think that those may have, I know, it was at Vince's recommendation, but it's where that may be something that is not necessarily in our purview, but where it might have been helpful for this discussion. Stephanie, I see you've been reaching for the mic a couple times.
Well, I'm just wondering how police might know that an animal is a service animal to follow a different track than their typical policy. And if we're making a recommendation, we should have a recommendation, and I really don't know enough about service animals. I think they have paperwork, and so maybe
Yes.
they have to be able to produce that at the time.
The
That
paperwork
is-
is typically on a pouch that the service dog, unless they're at their home, they're probably not wearing their harness unless it's potentially maybe someone that is visually impaired. But if they're in public, the dog has a harness on and it has a pouch for the paperwork.
And I do think that, and this is not even remotely close to my area of expertise, but if someone is in their home, it's like, oh, I have a service dog, here's their paperwork, then that goes with Wichita Animal Services when the dog is taken up to Hillside. Faith.
Sorry. Captain Cooley, Chief mentioned at the last workshop that there's a number of policies, which could mean anything. He even said it's hundreds, but would this be one of those policies you think that's in the queue for getting updated?
Yeah, so we are switching our policy database over to a nationally recognized policy database, and when we do that, all of our policies get cross-checked and referenced through that database. So Captain Moses is taking on this 100-plus policy manual and systematically going through each policy and making sure that they are in line with the national standards and the department's accreditation. So all of them are scheduled. It is a slow, methodical process.
I wonder, could you please pass along to Captain Moses that if he would like to present to the board this summer, we may have recommendations on individual policies if he hasn't gotten through those yet, or maybe things are different because it's part of this database. Do you think this summer would be an appropriate time?
I'd have to get with him.
Okay.
He's, equally as
Yes, I know.
busy, so I don't even know where he is in that process. The policies have to be discussed and negotiated with the union, so that is an added step on all those too. So
Maybe
it
just
is a
passing along
daunting
our
task.
interest that we'd like to, and then he can let us know
Yep.
when that's appropriate. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
And in that process, if the national standards do not have guardrails in place for, say, service animals or people, or some off-ramp for people who are imprisoned for one reason or another, I think that would be a worthy avenue of exploring. The other policy I wanted to speak on was policy 532. In particular, so I will confess to not being particularly in touch with the animal rights community. However, I am tangentially aware of the ongoing feud between KHS, WAS, the various shelters and the like. And I noticed there was a line near the bottom of the policy that's meet qualifications of such agencies. And I believe that that particular line is where I'm going to use their language because I'm not thinking of a better way, but the so-called gag rule. That is the source of their feuding right now, and they are not here, which is a surprise to me. But that, at least to the recommendation for Wichita Animal Services, as it is appropriate through our partnership with WPD, that these folks try and come together and resolve this, because I don't think either party is really helping the animals of the city by this social media brawling.
Yeah, and I don't know that we can necessarily make a specific recommendation, and my personal opinion is I think they should take that to council and do it during public comment, because I don't know that their recommendation has any more weight than the current policy. That's my opinion.
So my question, should we as the board, and I know there hasn't been any given timeline, I don't even know if there's been a proposed date, but should we as the board be reviewing these policies if all of the policies are going to be checked with this accreditation, this national accreditation? Should we be reviewing this if they're all potentially going to be getting rewritten, reworded, what have you?
I mean, I'm just going to give my 2 cents. I'm not going to speak for the board, but if it's a policy that the public is demanding, like flock was a big one that the public was really like, I want to know, I want to understand, or the vehicle pursuit policy, which keeps coming up. I say we focus on the ones that the public is demanding, which is why it's so important that we're so connected with the public, so that we are bringing their needs forth instead of us saying, well, we're going to review 300 policies. I don't know that we have the capacity to do that.
And I don't mean reviewing like all of those. However, it was going to be a part of my secretary report, but there's still a few other policies that we have identified that we want to review. However, also part of my report, I was going to say that we've focused heavily on case review, that we may have lacked we haven't fulfilled some of those other goals that we've set previously. So would it almost be looked at as us wasting our time reviewing policies without even giving the department time to address all of these policies, match them to whatever they're matching it to, and then come back and review those? And I'm not even talking about reviewing all of those, but does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, in some ways. I think if something keeps coming up in the public or in the media, that would spurn us to say, hey, let's take a look at a specific thing, like Josh is saying with the animal policy. But, I mean, I don't think we need to be reviewing hundreds of policies.
Yeah, and maybe this is my misunderstanding, but by talking about, say, animal control policies now, we're kind of front-loading that work. And so we can say, hey, as you're reviewing these hundreds and hundreds of policies and coming on, to please keep this in mind. And so it's not, and while we are having these conversations, these policies are still in effect and affecting folks. And so while it might not change until the giant overhaul, we're doing some pre-work so that we're not necessarily at the end of not the review chain, because we don't get to review, but we're not after the very long, complicated review process.
I guess let me ask it this way. Captain Cooley, how open do you think that, who's reviewing this? I'm sorry? Captain Moses would be receiving feedback from the board, or excuse me, recommendations from the board when he's already in this process? Like, do you think he would be receptive to any recommendations that we would provide?
Based on this, yes. The WPD approved this language, and it got passed last month. It says, engage the Citizens Review Board in policy development, education outreach, and review existing police department policies, procedures, and practices when necessary. So I would say they're very open to it.
Yeah, in fact, that's our, I don't know if suggestion is the right word, but one of our, I guess, desires from the board is that you guys review those policies and yes, they sound great, or this language is confusing, we don't know what that means, or have you thought about this? We would appreciate those policy reviews.
So does that mean that we would review them before their final approval, or would we be after?
It would be after.
Okay.
Which is, honestly is fine. Sometimes if you review something in the middle of development, of course, it's not going to be right. But it doesn't mean they're not opening to not changing it, is what I mean. Because like Flock is a perfect example. They had something and the community said, wait a minute, and then it was something else and everybody was happy. Well, not everybody was happy, but a lot of people were happier. Any other questions or concerns on animal control review policies? All right. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I can't really see. It's just blinding light.
I've been accused of being bright all my life, so.
Thank you, Robert.
As most of you know, my name is Vince Hancock. I'm the president of Delano Neighborhood Association. Due to a neighborhood complaint, I've been intently observing Wichita Animal Shelter behavior for the last 12 months. There are both credible and fabricated allegations of cases of official misconduct made by individuals in the animal care community. And some of these policies are problematic. Josh stole my thunder on one of them when we talk about 5:30, and of course, I'll email this out to all of you. When the owner or caretaker is under arrest and no responsible adult is available to take custody of the animal, then the department's going to grab the animals and take them. Last year, a citizen approached this board where, after a mental health vacation, their service animal was involuntarily surrendered to the shelter and adopted out to another member of our community. Sure. There are no policies that directly address service animals. So a review of a policy is, it doesn't exist, maybe we should have one. Maybe Eric can find that somewhere else. If you guys ask me to, I'll go do the research for you, because I can find policies at other departments and say, here's some model legislation, as it were.
But question, but that would be for animal control, not for the Wichita Police Department. Would there be things?
Animal services is part of the Wichita Police Department. That's why all of these 530 policies are within WPD policy. And I see where you're thinking, Joe. I'll touch that in as we end things up. Touching back to a couple of weeks ago with this Wichita City Council meeting, where's our policy on robot dogs? We don't have one, and I don't think that the police department should be allowed to purchase robot dogs until we have a policy on them. Since it's talking about animal control, I had to throw that in there. Animal intake, 532, 2A3D1. When the owner of an animal is deceased or legally incapacitated, we don't keep their animals just in the apartment and let them die there. Sure enough, recently in my neighborhood, a person died, leaving behind an adult male, an adult female, and 8 puppies less than 2 weeks old. The pups were allegedly separated from their mother, where then she all of a sudden started exhibiting aggressive behavior. Come on, how can we not see that coming? There are ways that our shelter employees are not making people proud of. Don't separate a mother from her pups. Also in 532, it mentions, and I quote, animal intake procedures and guidelines. What you have reviewed recently are the policies for animal services. As Josh pointed out, you have not been able to review the animal intake procedures and guidelines. Many businesses and many departments will call them SOPs, standard operating procedures. They're not there. I personally, in the last year, witnessed evidence, I'll provide it to anybody who asks, of poor employee training and poor record keeping by Wichita Animal Services. I do feel that this board cannot properly serve the public interest without seeing the SOPs and interviewing the WAS director. WAS is a part of WPD, therefore, Citizens Review Board does have the ability to review those policies. Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Vince, I would be mad if you wanted to do research and send us what you find. I don't think anyone will be mad about that.
I will do my best to present it uniformly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, well, what do you think we can get done in 15 minutes, Captain Cooley?
Well, I believe, were there any recommendations that needed?
Oh, I
to-
apologize. I'm focused on trying to get through the agenda. Besides the recommendation that Josh had, are there any other recommendations around policies? Do you want to send that out to the whole board then? Okay.
As in to make a motion next time, or?
Well, I don't know that we need to make a motion to make a recommendation.
Recommendation on the policy for the
Yeah.
I think we'd need to, if it was going to formally as the entire board, y'all are like, oh my God, Josh, that's a great idea, but
Then we would vote on it next week, because unless you guys want to vote on it now, but
unless everything sounds. Yes, Joe?
I said, I'd like to see it in writing.
yeah,
I'm
that's
still
why I was
learning.
thinking if you email it out to everybody, we can make a motion at the next meeting.
I read all these, but I'm still learning things, so I feel like I don't quite understand the whole process.
And then Josh, if you'll bring a motion forward at the next meeting, then we can get that recommendation approved. All right, now that we have 14 minutes left, which case is burning a hole in your pocket, Captain Cooley? Because I think we're only going to get through one.
Are we saving the secretary report for the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can tell us if you have a report or don't.
It's very brief. I've already mentioned that we have other policies that need to be reviewed, and just reminding the board that we have other goals that we have identified that I would encourage us, using my own personal privilege here, to look to get back to. We've been successfully going to neighborhood meetings, to my understanding. Outside of that, I was running late this morning as I was to this meeting, so I did not bring my notes with me, so that is all I have.
If it's anything that's burning, will you just send it out to the board so
Prayerfully.
that Joe can include it in her minutes?
Yes.
Okay, now we have 13 minutes.
So we just go
I
into
just want to be
exec
very
session?
respectful of people's time. Sorry, what?
Would we just move into executive
Yeah,
session?
we'll just move
once-
into executive session. But I need to know which case numbers before we can move into it.
Well, we're not doing one, right?
Yeah, one, they didn't come, so two's done.
And we could
So-
remove 6 or 7 since, oh, well, we could remove
Yeah, 6
7.
and 7 are going to have to be tabled because we spent so much time on 2.
Progress from it.
Do you think we can do 3, 4, and 5 in 15 minutes, or should we just do one?
What are they about?
It's 25 PSB 2277, 25 PSB 2127, and 25 PSB 1600.
It's unnecessary force, rude conduct and racial profiling, and improper arrest and use of force. 2 uses of force and 1 rude conduct and racial profiling.
Ball's in your court, Captain Cooley. We'll go with as much as you think we can do in 12 minutes now.
Most of them are pretty lengthy. I'm not sure we can get through one in 12 minutes, so
Okay.
I'll leave that up to you guys on if you want to start one or what you want to do.
Let's do the one that was different than the other two.
The racial profiling?
Racial profiling.
Okay, because there's 2 use, which one was the racial profiling? 3137? I'm sorry, 2127?
Personally, I would disagree. I think a month has been tremendously too long for me to remember.
That's fair.
With other details that are things that I have going on in my own life, I think it's too long for me to remember the details and then go back and review it, because then I'm going to have questions next month about what was said this month. If you don't think you can get through it in 12 months, unless the board makes a decision to extend the time of tonight's meeting.
That was what I was going to ask. Would you guys prefer to extend the meeting or meet the second week of April and do a special meeting that's just to review cases?
Have we decided not to review cases during other, so was there already an agenda made for next?
We haven't made the April agenda, except for I imagine the discussion around starting the subcommittees is going to be a pretty lengthy discussion.
I would recommend doing one, extending time tonight, and not putting this many on a schedule. That's my recommendation. Oh, okay. I'm good with that, too.
I would be open to.
Is there any appetite for a meeting the week of April 6th? Do we have at least 7 people that will be here April 6th, or the week of April 6th? Because I can, Robert can, Josh can.
When you say a whole week, I'm not available for a whole week. It depends on the day.
Sorry, I'm going to say 7th, 8th, or 9th. 9th? 9th? You guys want to do the 9th? And then all the work that Captain Cooley put in, we can just review those cases
Well,
here?
sorry, we would have to make sure that the space is available, right? I don't know if the city hall is available, or is that a meeting that we plan to have at city hall, or is that a meeting we plan to have elsewhere? at the
Are you guys
library?
trying to move the meeting date?
No. It's an extra meeting so that we can get through the cases we didn't get through tonight.
Staff isn't available to add additional meetings to
okay,
that,
well.
so.
Then I guess,
I guess I'm just trying to understand, is there a reason we can't add some of these cases either back to the review list, such as 6 and 7?
I mean, everything will have to go back
No
to the review
TikTok
list
trend
then.
intended there, and then selecting cases to just be added to next month's meeting?
Well, then I would recommend that April's meeting is going to be the review of the strategic plan and the breakup of the work that needs to be done by subcommittee and the racial profiling case of S25 PSB 2127. Because if they're lengthy cases, I don't think we can do more than what we can do.
And we have the proposal coming back, and you had Joshua bringing something back.
A motion, yeah. Because that's a lot of, we have a lot of discussion because we got to start doing the work that the strategic plan is just what we want. We haven't built the roadmap of how we're going to do any of it. So that work still has to be done. Which is why I think there might be a subcommittee that just reviews cases. Otherwise, we're never going to get anything done.
Could it not just be a motion to breathe life back into the subcommittee that was already formed?
Yeah, that's a standing committee, or it was an ad hoc committee, so we can bring ad hoc committees back anytime we want. It's not part of the bylaws. All we got to do is say the board moves to do an ad hoc committee, blah, blah, blah. I think we can do that at the next meeting.
Instead of, so what are you envisioning being a lengthy discussion about that part?
So these documents that we all approved as far as the roles and responsibilities and the purpose, duties, membership, the bylaws, there's work that needs to be done to get to this future state that we all put in here that we wanted to have. That was the biggest work that we did during the strategic planning. Basically, this is the roadmap, but we haven't put in here who's going to do the work yet. So if it's case coordination, that may be a subcommittee. If it's going out into the community and finding out if they want more civilian oversight or a different model so that the ordinance needs to be changed, that was part of the discussion that we had. So I think everybody needs to review those documents. And do you have those? Oh, Captain Cooley, you said you reached out to her and she was going to send it back out again with the corrections that were made, correct? Was that you that said that?
I'm not sure. I did not reach out to her. so
Okay.
I-
Is that something that we could have Joe do potentially? Reach out to PPMC and give us the new document with the changes that we made to the police roles and responsibilities?
I'd have to get with Joe. Joe doesn't work for me, so I don't know
Okay.
what her job duties and everything are.
I'll miss you.
What's that?
Greg DeWitt?
Well, the city contracted with PPMC, not the CRB. So it would be the city that would decide whether or not PPMC gives us any more work, right?
Yes, if you're asking for PPMC to do more, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, the document that WPD and the CRB approved is not the document that PPMC sent out. We made our own edits. So I don't know if PPMC needs to revamp everything and send it back out to us, because we don't own these documents.
That interfaces with the Assistant City Manager, Dante Martin, with him and PPMC. I think that might be a conversation.
Okay. Captain Cooley, I will reach out to Dante and just have him, since the city manager office is the one that contracted with them. Hopefully I can get that done pretty soon, because I would like everyone to review those documents so that we can kind of start our work groups up.
However, I'm reminded, this is also around the time when reappointments are, so I don't know if that's going to impact, I don't know if the city council has any, or whoever appointed us, whomever appointed us in our respective areas, if they have any intent of reappointing somebody.
So some reappointments have already happened. Joe's already reached out to the city manager's office to give him a list of the current members and whatever that looks like. So he has those, so we'll know something in April. Okay.
I think so.
And then if nothing else, we should have a list of subcommittees for when the new appointees join. We say, here's the work, jump in,
Right.
get your feet wet. Or-
Hopefully, if any of us transition off the board, we'll still attend meetings while the new board members transition on, since we put all this work into it. Does that answer your question, Greg, about like what the discussion would be and why it would be lengthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I? Oh, I'm not making the recommendation. It's been recommended that the board revisited that the board meets more than, at least twice a month, because we have a lengthy amount of things to do.
Robert and I agree on that. Which is why I think potentially that might be a subcommittee instead of the full board, because I don't know that the full board even has the availability to meet twice a month. Same with staff. That'll have to be something that we talk about, just like Captain Cooley said. So I don't know what that looks like yet. Just because we want to meet twice a month doesn't mean they can meet twice a month.
And according to our bylaws, this group is supposed to meet once every 3 or 4 months is the minimum expectation. So we are exceeding that even at our current meeting rate.
Correct. So I think that's what we should finalize, whether or not all of us stay on the board or not moving forward. Having those pieces together means the next board won't have to go through what we went through the last 24 months. Yeah? Okay.
So can you just recap what next month's meeting is?
Next month's meeting is a review of the PPMC strategic planning documents that were approved at the February meeting and January meeting, and then put a work plan together, which may include ad hoc committees. And then
Committee
the
discussion.
review of 25 PSB 2127,
As well as this proposal discussion?
as well as the proposal for how we handle the presentation timeline.
And then you said 25 PSB what?
2127. That's the racial profiling one, I think.
2127. And for my own sanity, you'll send out PPMC
I'm
documents?
gonna email Dante and have Dante's office have PPMC send us the documents.
And then you'll email
Hopefully,
it to
they'll
the board?
be sent to Joe and the CRB email.
And then you, okay. and
That way,
then
everybody has it.
Josh, you'll send out your, and then you'll send, okay, we're covering on all bases then.
And next month, we also have Joshua's proposal.
Yeah, he'll have a
or
motion.
Motion coming back.
Yeah. So there'll be a motion from Josh, a motion from Stephanie, a case, and then the discussion around the strategic plan. You got, okay. Anything you want to add, Matt or Tim? I really do apologize, Captain Cooley, that we weren't able to get to all the cases that I know you put a lot of work into, but the work's already done, so when we review them, maybe that'll free you up for some other stuff. Is there anything else for the good of the body besides when we're meeting next? Gregory, what is our next meeting location and date? Oh. Oh, next one is at Atwater. Thank you, Joe. And we're still 5 to 7. And 5971, I guess if they email us, we'll have to put them on a schedule when they can come. Because I don't know that we should plan to review it unless they can tell us they're going to be here. Because it was their case. Awesome.
That'd probably have to be a motion made at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Well, I hope everyone has a super fun weekend. I will be in Kansas City nerding out at Comic-Con.
And with that said, I move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Bye. Oh my God, there's